Hey, what's up guys? It's Turn Up for Ethan here, and welcome to my 2017 update on the top 10 Nerf guns ever. Now, before you start roasting me in the comments, please keep in mind that this is 100% my opinion, and you can always leave your list down below in the comments section, and I'll check out your list and we can be friends. And remember to smash that like button. This is the most editing I've ever put into a video, so it really helps out if you do that, and it shows your support and it shows how you stay active. So thank you for that, and let's get right into the video. Alright, coming in at the 10th spot, we do have the Elite Alpha Trooper. Now, I really like the Elite Alpha Trooper mostly because of how it works. So basically, all you do is pump this thing back and then pump it forward and you can fire. And it also does have a slam fire mode where you hold down the trigger and then you pump, and that will empty out your darts pretty quick. And you do have the magazine well right here, and then you can go ahead, pull this back, and it comes with a 12 dart magazine. Now, if you've seen my previous list, you know that the Alpha Trooper was number 1. Now, it's gone all the way down to the 10th spot. And you're probably wondering why, and the reason why is because these things are really rare to find now. You can find them on eBay for like 50 to 100 bucks. It's pretty weird because these things used to be 20 bucks. Now these things are going for a lot of money actually, and they are pretty rare, and you have to go through things like eBay to find these things. I think they might be making a comeback though, because I recently went to Kohl's and they had a few of the mission kits on the shelves, so I'm not sure. I might change my opinion if it comes back, but for now I'll leave it at the 10th spot. And range testing this thing, I got an average of 65 feet, which is surprisingly low for me. Not really that close to elite standard at all. The furthest dart I fired was actually 84 feet from this thing, which was pretty strange. And it was actually some spaced out groupings, which was kind of weird as well. And I did experience a lot of jams with this thing. This thing is a little old for me, so that might be why it jammed. Sometimes it would fire like 2 at a time, but it might just be the blaster and how old this one is. And I do have the orange one out, but it is modded, so I don't want to use it in a range test. But for now, this is the blue one, and it sits at the 10th spot. Alright, I bet you noticed which blaster from the wall was missing. But in the 9th spot, we do have the Elite Raven. Now, I absolutely love this blaster, and it's affected by the same thing that the Alpha Trooper was affected by, and that is how rare it is these days. This thing is rarer than the Alpha Trooper. I've seen it go for like 100 bucks, and it is one of my favorite blasters. I love this blaster so much. It's super comfortable, and it's pretty much like a Strife, but it does have the bullpup, which I do like better. And it's a nice fire as well. It's semi-auto, so that means you hold down the bottom button, you let that rev, and then once it's fully rev, then you can press this fire button to get the best ranges. And it's a pretty cool blaster as well. It has a tactical rail right here, it has a barrel attachment point right there, and I just like the bullpup style in particular, and one of the only reasons that it is ranked so low is because it's so rare these days to find. Another thing about this blaster is it has a pretty cool 18 round glow-in-the-dark magazine, and this magazine holds, I think, 18 glow darts, and then you can charge those up with this little button on the bottom, and then you fit the darts right into the magazine, stuff the magazine in, and you can shoot the darts glow-in-the-dark. And taking a look at the Raven's ranges, we have a 72-foot average, and the furthest dart was 81 feet, which is pretty good for a blaster like this, and I really love the firing on this blaster. And if you see a good deal for this online, then I would definitely pick it up, because it's a great blaster to have, and it's just a lot of fun. Alright, so next up on our list is the Nerf Elite Hyperfire. Now, I really like this blaster just because of its rate of fire. This is the fastest firing blaster in Nerf so far without modding or anything. So I think it's pretty cool with that use, and if you have like a friend that's like right in front of you, you can just mow down all your darts on him or her.
Gender equality!
And of course, it comes with a 25 round drum, and you can fill up all your darts in there, and this blaster is magazine fed, so it will accept any other Nerf magazines that you do have. And to fire this one, you hold down this acceleration trigger, and then once the acceleration trigger is held down, you press this top trigger right there, and you can do single shots, like just pull it and let go, or you can just hold down the trigger and it will fire all of its darts, which is a lot of fun to do, might I add. And it does have one tactical rail up there, and that's the only thing for your accessories if you want those. It doesn't have a barrel attachment point or anything like that, and it does have a jam door right here, and that opens up, and you can go ahead and clear your jams anywhere there, close it, push the button back up, and you're good to go. It really is a pain to carry around for like a whole day if you wanted to use it. So I recommend, if you're a modder, to mod this thing into carrying like a lipo or something. But I do think it's a pretty cool blaster just if you want to use in a pretty quick war. Now, spoiler, the Hyperfire has the lowest ranges in the whole list. This thing averages at 55 feet, and the furthest dart that I measured was, wait for it, 69 feet. 69 feet was the furthest dart that I measured. So ranges on this thing aren't that great. I would prefer it more for close quarters, and that's another one of its cons. But the groupings that I saw for the Hyperfire, like the spaces between the darts in the ranges, was pretty nice actually, and it was pretty good groupings. So that means that it's pretty persistent in its firing. So it's not gonna like fire one dart really far and then the next shot is gonna be like really short or something. So that's always a good thing to have in a Nerf blaster. And yeah, let's move on to the next. Alright, next up on the list is the Nerf Modulus Tri-Strike. Now this blaster is the most fun that I usually have with the blaster. It's a lot of like special attachments which makes this blaster really worth what it is. So basically you do have a missile launcher in the back, and then push that forward to fire this missile right here, and then you also do have a mega firing thing in the front right here, and you just pump that, and every time you pump it, it shoots one dart. And then of course you do have the bolt action main piece right there, and that you pull back and then push it forward to fire a dart out. And it does come with a 10 dart magazine, which is a fairly smaller magazine, so it doesn't have as much darts. I would prefer sticking like an 18 or maybe even a 25 in this thing, but it's still a lot of fun to have. This thing goes for $50, and I think it's kind of worth it because you can put this missile launcher on the back of any stock because it's attached to a stock attachment point, as you can see right there. And you can also put the barrel attachment on any other barrel attachment point that you want to put it on. So I think it's got a lot of good value on it. And when I range tested this blaster, the average for the darts was 70 feet, and then the furthest dart that fired was 74 feet. And the missile and the mega darts are kind of more for a fun factor, I feel like. They didn't go very far, so I think they're more for fun, or if you're in like a indoor war or something, you can just stick it on your blaster. And I know that in HVZ or something, they do have like special points for like getting hit with mega darts or a missile, or so I think so. Something like that. So I think it's still pretty valuable, and it is a lot of fun to have as well. Alright, coming in at our 6th spot, we do have a tie actually, and that has to be the strong arm and the hammer shot. Now, I've gotten very different opinions based on people who I've asked for which one is better, but in all honesty, I can't choose. I used to say that I like the hammer shot more just because it's one-handed action, but the strong arm is a lot of fun too. It's a nice sidearm and it's pretty easy to load compared to the hammer shot. So I'm going to take a look at each one individually so I don't have to use both of my hands for each of these. Alright, first up is the hammer shot. Now this one is heavily modified, but I have 3 hammer shots and each of them are modded. So this is the closest one that I could find to not being modded because it still has its 5-shot cylinder, which is pretty cool. And then we do have this thing back here, which is usually the prime, and it won't look like this. I'll put a picture of it right there, but it usually doesn't look like this. This is a special metal kit, which is for the hammer shot, but the main shape of the blaster is still the same. So we do have a tactical rail at the top, in case you want a sight on your sidearm, and then it holds 5 darts, as I mentioned earlier, and you just put the darts in right there, and then you can go ahead and fire. I actually didn't do a range test for this one. I'm sorry about that, but I completely forgot about it when I was doing the ranges, so sorry about that. And another reason why people really like the hammer shot over the strong arm, just because it's one-handed blasting, so you could dual wield these things, and you could just go like this and fire with one hand, which I think is a pretty cool feature. But I'll talk about the strong arm next and why they are like really close to each other. Alright, now on to the strong arm. So the strong arm, this one is not modified at all. There are 2 different versions of the strong arm, but they're exactly the same. There's like the blue, which is the whole paint job, and the white, which is going to be the stripes. But this one is white and blue, which is a little bit different, but they perform the same. Now this one is a pretty good blaster as well. You need 2 hands for this one to prime the top and then fire, and it does have a bottom thing right here, and you can press that and the cylinder will pop out and you can load in the darts like so. And that also makes for some really good Russian roulette games. I know I've played that with my friends before. But anyway guys, we do have a tactical rail at the top, and then to fire you pull it back and pull the trigger, holster point at the bottom, and it is just as comfortable as the hammer shot as well. And I just can't decide between these 2. This one holds 6 shots, which is pretty good, and it primes from the top, which some people actually like. Sometimes I think the strong arm is actually better because I never dual wield that much, but it could be really important. Who knows? But for now, I'm going to say it's a tie. I think they both have equally as cool names too. And yeah, I'm going to leave it at a tie for the number 6 spot. Alright, our first nominee for the number 5th spot is the Rapid Strike. Now, everyone knows what the Rapid Strike is. Everyone mostly loves the Rapid Strike. If you don't know, it's full auto. And just like the Hyperfire, if you hold down the trigger, then you can unleash all your darts. It comes with a clear 18-round magazine, which I love these magazines personally. They just look really cool as well. And they look cool. They look nice in your blaster if you put them in. And the Rapid Strike does have a lot of tactical rails as well. One right here, one right here, one on the bottom, one on this side, and one on the other side. I also love the extendable stock on the Rapid Strike. You hold this button right here and then push it in, and you can have a small stock, or you can pull it back and you'll have a longer stock. And it's pretty comfortable as well. I really like the way it feels, and it is pretty old, but I can still see it on store shelves sometimes, which I think is pretty cool as well. And ranges on the Rapid Strike were actually an improvement over the Hyperfire. So on average, I managed to get 80 feet, and then the furthest shot was 86 feet, which actually surprised me because the Rapid Strike is pretty old and it wasn't around during that Elite XD time. I know there is the new Elite XD Rapid Strike, but this is the older one, and this one advertised 75 feet. But we all know Elite XD was kind of a joke, so we're not going to talk about that though. But it's still a great blaster if you ever want to use this thing, and full auto is nice, but you got to be conservative sometimes. Like, if you want to run all your ammo, then this is definitely for you. It's a great blaster, and it's kind of easy to get into modding with this one too. Alright, coming in at the number 4th spot, the blaster that I think has made the most improvement to me has to be the Nerf Modulus. Now, I used to hate the Modulus just because it was so expensive and the attachments were kind of gimmicky to me. But now, looking back at it, I'm starting to really like the Modulus. Now, the blaster without all its attachments is a little larger than the Strife, but I just feel like it's more comfortable. I like how the batteries are placed in this little slot right here instead of being placed on one of the sides, so it kind of tilts, but on the Modulus, they fixed that problem, so all the weight is distributed nice along the blaster. It comes with a 10-dart magazine, so it's magazine fed. You can put a bigger magazine in it as well, and it is semi-auto, so you hold down this button, and then you can fire, and for every trigger pull, you fire 1 dart. And the attachments are kind of cool looking back at it. My favorite has to be this thing, just because you can put another barrel on it and then you can keep building like Coop 772. And I think that's pretty cool, but my biggest gripe about this blaster is the stock. I hate this stock. You might be thinking that this thing is kind of a good idea, but once you get this thing in person, the stock is so wobbly. It's so annoying sometimes. As you can see, just with a little force in my hand, it just wobbles. But it does carry a magazine back here, and I've seen people put PVC tubes, I think, right here around these things, so it might reinforce the stock a little, which I might do someday. Now, another reason the Modulus has improved a lot for me is because the price at Target for it actually went down. I think it used to be $50, but the last time I checked at Target, it was $38, $12 off of its original value. So I think that's pretty cool as well. So you can pick this thing up for cheaper, and you can also buy the attachments separately and just buy the Modulus base blaster by itself if you don't want any of these kind of gimmicky attachments. So another good thing about the Modulus is that the ranges are pretty good on it. So I was able to hit a little past the Elite Standard, which is 75 feet. I was able to get 78 feet off of this thing. The furthest dart fired was 88 feet. So I thought that was pretty cool, but the groupings were kind of spaced out, which was kind of annoying to me because I like it when the spacings are tight, so you can always be able to hit the same shot over and over again. And taking a look at another old blaster, one that I discovered that I actually started to really like, and that is the Retaliator. This has never been on any of my lists, mostly because I broke the past 2 Retaliators that I had. I tried to mod my Retaliators and I broke 2 of them. And then I broke my friend's Retaliator. But this is the Retaliator. Now, it's kind of like a spring action Modulus. It does have a barrel attachment point right there, and then it comes with a special barrel, and it comes with a grip at the bottom. And put that in, and it does have a stock attachment point, and this is the stock that it comes with, and that fits onto the blaster like so. And it comes with a 12 dart magazine, and you just put that into the blaster and fire. And to fire, you just want to pump the top back and then pump it forward, and you'll be able to fire. There is no slam fire on this blaster, so you can't hold down and fire, which is kind of annoying as well. But I don't use slam fire that often, so it's not too much of a problem for me. And it's really just a great blaster. Like, you can take all these attachments off and just make it an on-the-go pistol, which I do sometimes. But it's pretty nice to fire as well. It's smooth firing. And taking a look at the ranges on this thing, I hit 76 feet on average, and the furthest dart that I shot was 81 feet, which is a pretty good mashup. As I mentioned earlier, the Elite Standard is 75 feet, so this thing's a pretty good fit. And for $25, this thing is definitely a really good Springer choice. And yeah, that's my number 3 spot. Alright, now we're into our top 2 spots. I bet you're wondering which ones they are. And coming into our number 2 spot, we do have the Nerf Elite Strife. Now this thing has been my number 2 spot for 2 years in a row. This is the 2nd year. And I just really think this blaster is really great. So it's a small little pistol, I guess you could say, and it is semi-auto like the Raven and the Modulus. So you do have an acceleration trigger at the bottom. Hold that down, pull the trigger, and it fires a dart. Now this thing is a really good blaster. It has a 6-dart magazine, which is a really small capacity, but you can exchange it for any other magazine that you do own, and that will go in nicely. It has a stock attachment point at the back, and then a barrel attachment point at the front. Some could say that it's like a mini Modulus, and it just has no attachments on it, which I do agree with, but I just think it's a lot better. It's really small, so you can just carry it around, put it in a holster, and make it your sidearm. And it has a lot of good modding value as well. I know I've modded a ton of Strifes and I've never broken any of those, and it was one of the first mods I've ever done, so it's a good value. Now ranges on this thing are really good. The furthest that I hit was 89 feet and the average that I got was 83 feet, which is really good. And the Strife is a little bit older than most blasters, but I still think it's a really good choice. They are getting a little harder to find now, so if you want to get one of these, I would try to get it like as soon as possible, so then you can get your hands on it and do whatever you want to do with it. And finally, for our number 1 spot, go ahead, guess what it is down below in the comment section below. I feel like you probably wouldn't guess it because I've never shown this blaster ever before on my channel, and it feels to me like it's the uncrowned king of 2017. And that has to be the Nerf Rival Artemis. This thing is one of the greatest Nerf blasters I've ever used. It's just, everything about it is done so well. So first of all, if you don't know, it uses these Rival rounds. It's these tiny balls, yes, that fit right into your blaster. And to fire this blaster, you go ahead and pump the bottom, and then pump it forward, and you can fire Rival rounds just like that. It also does have slam fire, so you press this trigger right there, and then pull this forward, pull this back, and then pull this forward, just like that. And it's a pretty cool blaster in that essence. And to load the blaster, you pull this thing back, and then you can load in the rounds, each individual on each of these 3 little pouches right there. And each of these pouches carry 10 rounds, so 30 rounds altogether. And these things shoot far, and I mean really far. The average range that I got for the Artemis was 110 feet, and the furthest round that I saw was 120 feet. That's literally crazy. That blows all the other things that I've tested out of the water. If you're a little younger, it might be a little harder to prime, but that's one of my only gripes about this blaster. And I really enjoy using this thing. I like how it has this really nice grip at the bottom. This grip is super comfortable, and just firing it is really smooth as well. So that's my number 1 blaster so far. Remember to leave your list down below. I haven't tested out any of the summer blasters that are coming yet either, so I'll see if I can get those on my hands and do a review of it, and I'll let you know later on. Alright, that's gonna be all for the video. If you enjoyed, remember to leave a like, type a comment, and shoot that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, remember to turn up that volume. I'll see you guys later.